Welcome to the Black and Unblending podcast, where we discuss the internal family systems model through the Black experience. Introducing Kayla Bell Consolver, licensed mental health counselor, Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, Linda Mayepa, traditional doctor of African medicine, and Shanika Williams, licensed clinical social worker. This podcast is for learning purposes only. This is not medical or mental health advice. Well, welcome to this episode of Black and Unblending podcast, where we are talking about IFS from the lens and experience of the Black experience. And we have this beautiful, brilliant people here with a special guest I cannot wait to introduce. I am so excited to have this beautiful gift here with us. And before we get started, you know that we jump into our parts party. And so that's just speaking for our part that's here, that's up, and checking in, as we want to model this for our listeners, and as a way to speak for our parts and honor them in a way that feels right. So yeah, checking in to see parts party, who's here, who's willing to dive in.
I got a part willing just to hop on in first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a part that's just so happy to be in this presence, this beautiful Black energy, the Black essence in the room. It's a nice connection because we all haven't been together since the conference. And just like my parts are still feeling the warmth of the hugs and the laughters and just the energy and all of that. So that's what's coming up in my system with y'all today.
Going next, definitely subgroup. And I'm like, ooh, like I have this part that's like, I was able to like touch these people. We were able to hug. And then there's a part, and remember, we was not a hugger. We were not a hugger, but yeah, there's this part that just has so much gratitude, just being in a space that feels safe where we get to show more of ourselves. Um, yeah, so this part that's happy to be here. And a part that's also a little shy because I think it's the newer part, just noticing like, ooh, you a little out there more because I'm so introverted, but this part is like, oh, okay, like, okay, we out there, we out here in these IFS streets a little bit more.
Yeah. Welcome.
Did I just say this is always a part of me? I'm so surprised when you say you have an introverted part. 'Cause one part that never picked up on that energy, but I appreciate and love on that part.
And I think we're probably gonna be subgrouping, but all day. But definitely excited to connect with you all again because it has been a minute, and then to with the conference. But feels really good to reconnect. And I also have a part that still feels like very protective of this space, right? You know, as we're like pre-recording these episodes, and they'll be coming out, and I have parts that are like, this is us like showing our humanity and our beautifulness and our brilliance, and parts that are like, I want to protect my people and their humanity, and you know, we us putting our humanity on display, especially as Black like healing professionals. You know, that is it's a beautiful gift we're giving, and so I'm really appreciating you all leaning in on this. And also I have a part that's like, nobody mess with my people. That's there. Yeah.
Guess I'll speak for my parts. Maybe what just showed up is I'm like, ooh, I haven't been in this space with all of you before. And so there's a little bit of me that's like a little bit reserved in this moment, but that part is always ready to like to present what's real, like whatever that is, like at a moment's notice. So I'm excited to always speak speak truth, and yeah, that reminder of like being connected to our humanity. I'm not worried in the least about like anybody like messing with us. Um, I think that listeners and watchers of your podcast will probably be inspired and maybe even extracting from us
Mm.
because there's such authenticity, beauty, intelligence that we're going to be sharing some things. They're going to take some things away from our conversations.
Something you said, Tasha, really spoke to the, it's like a storm happening inside of me. And it kind of just started listening to what you were saying. Thank you. 'Cause that helped me kind of tap in to the storm. And it's still there, but it's not as intense as it was. And I think for me, I'm excited to be here. I am confused about the storm inside of me. I am curious about what this journey we're embarking on is going to look like, because I know it's always, always so good when we come together. And I'm just really leaning into that right now, because there's just a lot of woo. there's a lot of really heavy something paying attention right now that's really present. And so I'm going to just slow down and make myself more available to that, because I think I was bracing myself. And yeah, I'm just going to open myself up, slow down, and become more available to whatever's happening inside and whatever shows up here in this space. I'm really glad to be here.
Always feels good to land with you all. And want to take time to introduce our special guest. And I love the little blurb they have. And it's big, right? I want to say like it's like short in words, but the energy is big. And how Tasha Hunter describes herself: a soul medicine giver, a bearer of radical love, a writer, a therapist, mentor, and devoted caretaker of her community, anchored in unshakable belief that we belong to one another. And her work is a living testament to shared wisdom, transformative love, and the undeniable truth that liberation is not only possible, it is our collective birthright. Okay, period. And experience-wise, yes, Tasha is a licensed clinical social worker serving clients virtually in North Carolina, Kansas, and Florida. A Black cisgender neurodivergent lesbian and survivor, Tasha brings a deeply intersectional lens to her work. She is a passionate supporter of the global majority, Black Lives Matter, pro-choice advocacy, and social justice movements. Committed to advancing equality and equity, Tasha is a fierce advocate for psychedelic-assisted therapy as a path to healing and transformation. Tasha is deeply invested in dismantling harmful beliefs about womanhood and personhood, those rooted in white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism. She uses her voice, power, and privilege to advocate for marginalized and vulnerable communities, creating spaces of safety, empowerment, and liberation. A survivor of childhood religious and military-related trauma, Tasha brings both lived experience and professional expertise to her work. And with over 20 years of military in the military community, she has supported active duty service members, veterans, and their families. And Tasha is pro-peace and committed to a world free from war and violence. I would welcome Tasha Hunter to Black and Unblending. Thank you so much. So much. So much for being.
Like we need a boom or something like that. You know?
I know, like, beep, 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 beep. We need to.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
Pat myself on the back. Thank you. I'm so glad that I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
And it felt so fitting, especially after your presentation at the conference. I said, oh, it feels so fitting to talk about self-energy with Tasha. And welcoming, like, what is self-energy? How do we describe this to our clients? And also to, like, what does self-energy look like in how does it differ in the experience of the Black experience in Black bodies? Because I know my own healing journey definitely doesn't, how it's traditionally named, it feels different. So the first question, I'll join in, but which is how we talk about or how we discuss or describe self-energy with our clients.
I'll go first. When I think about self, usually when I'm speaking to clients, I explain self as being like a centering, like you're acquainted with your center, basically. You have this relationship, you're in tune with your intuition, that still quiet voice. Sometimes it's not quiet. When you are allowing yourself to love and to also receive love and care, that is self. And when I think about that, what I also think about is so many of us are estranged from our family of origin, and we're estranged because we're truth tellers. And in toxic family systems, truth telling is a threat. And so when we are truth telling, that is self. And there's just so many other qualities. I'll give one example, and I would love to hear from others. When I was a little girl, dark skin, thick hair, wide nose, I was made fun of a lot and called names, and the bullying was quite relentless, and so I went through a period as a little girl, elementary school, even middle school, of hating my features. But then for Black folks, when we are in self, we're able to embrace all of us. Like, however the Creator created us, we're able to embrace our melanated skin. And I love my nose, and I love the shape of my lips, and I love, I love me. Like, I love me more than I love anybody. And that is self.
Just want to flow in on that. That last part you said. I love me more than I love anybody else. And I could feel the parts that I've learned to not want to do that, or to learn that that's not okay, because that's the burdens that have been passed down, especially as Black women. We don't get to love our bodies and things like that. So there's want to name that. I appreciated that being brought into the space, and that's not selfish. In fact, it sounds like by loving myself more, it gives me the capacity to love you even more, right? But ensuring that I don't lose sight, right? So what I think about, it's interesting. This question was a good challenge for me and my parts, because I was like, do I ever actively talk about self? I can tell you, for one, I never use the word self-energy in session. I don't know if I ever have. I use it in presentations and things, but like that just doesn't feel genuine to my system and how I experience my own. So I'm more likely to use like soul, inner light. But when I introduce it to them, it's more of a introducing what's already there. It's like I noticed that, like when self enters the room, it's like a just spend time just noticing that what's coming up for you, whether that's care, whether that's confidence. Like I used to love like when people were like wanting to protest and feel that. Like what does that feel like inside? And just invite them to hold it and name it themselves, whatever they want to call that. Um, because I've always had my own issues with self energy and how it's described and there's parts that don't want to go on that tangent. And I use what you said earlier, actually, Tasha, around like we can hold space. Curiosity doesn't mean criticism. Um, but self energy just it for me when I think about it and the ways that I've seen it show up in the people I work with, it's it's more expansive than just self individual. It's something deeper and more connecting than that. So I usually just invite it when they notice that expansion that's happening inside to them that allows them to be with in a way that is deeper than they ever could imagine, to do things that feel in alignment with themselves and their values and the things that, hold importance to them. That's usually when I invite them just to like marinate in that junk just a little bit. And then they can call it whatever they want to call it. Right. So that's usually how I might bring it up with folks.
Yeah. And when you said, Kayla, I don't think I actually use the word self energy either, uh, uh, directly, but I see like there's a resource, right? Right. This inside that has not been wounded, has not been damaged by like the like your experiences and also like the systems of this world. I feel like that's like a huge piece because of what Tasha's naming. Like I feel like a lot of our parts taking out all of the systems, like all of the coding, like they our parts read the room real well, right? And know like is what is acceptable in mainstream culture. And so when we show up in a like authentic way, then yeah, like it that resource and make space for it, like our true self expression, um and it's because they often talk about self energy as if it's like this welcomed uh it's not going to cause any like issues and everybody's going to be so happy when it's there right, and that has not been the experience that I have encountered. Oftentimes, when we're talking about like our experience, it's like for people who have been marginalized in the way that we have, for us to show up, it's like, whoa, wait a second. Like, what are you doing? Like, like oftentimes that's the response that happens. So it's like, being able to do that and stand 10 toes down in it. Like that's like, all right, self energy. That's what that feels like. And so,
Yeah, I also don't use self energy as a term, but I do talk a lot about inviting, welcoming. I talk about, the shape and the flavor and the feeling of anger, even, you know, the leap, the courageous leap into dark waters. I talk about relationship a lot and and how the relationship makes space for what someone's feeling or experiencing or what's going on in their bodies. Deal with a lot of complex trauma, and there's not always words. And so being able to just make space and be willing to make space. That's what we talk about more in our sessions. And even calling in the ancestors, calling in something bigger than just ourselves, opens up space for what IFS calls self energy. Because you're not alone then. You're not alone. I mean, sure, I'm there, but, when I'm not there, they are resourced both with themselves and with their people. And so that's another way that we talk about self energy and accessing it. And then what do you do? Right? It's always, there's always some kind of action around it in my work. Again, the inviting, the being willing, even the curiosity, the courage, the anger. There's always movement. Whether that movement is just expansion, whether that movement is listening. It's very relational. It's very dynamic, and it's always new. There's always some kind of insight. There's always an experience that's often surprising, and that's how we kind of shape the experience around what's self energy. Is how do we recognize it? What does it feel like? How do we invite those types of moments, or whether that's appropriate at any particular time? Because sometimes a person is just not ready, and that's okay too. It's okay too.
Flowing is like so much that just noticing like what my system is taking in like from this conversation, and really also feeling the challenge of how do I define self energy? And I think where I am right now is I'm still defining it. So much of it for me is actually leaning into more of like my spiritual gifts that I've been taught not to trust. So like that gift of sight, or being able to see things that others cannot, or being able to pick up on things that others cannot. So like really just noticing like that's always been there. Like I know, but then here comes like this part. It's like, but how do you know? Like that's kind of like, how, you know, external, things like school and stuff like that. It's like, how do you know it? And that was a question that oftentimes I couldn't answer. I just knew that I knew. So to me, it's like this source of like this energy, or the spirit of just knowing and seeing and being and connecting. Like when I'm outside and I feel one with the sun, or I feel one with the wind, or I feel one with like, random animals that I see. Like it doesn't feel like there's like this disconnection. Like I feel like I'm tapping into something that is like really big. And I feel like a shift, like, inside of me, but also around me. So I think I'm still defining and trying to figure out how do I define like this self energy, and really trying to understand it not only for myself, but then also recognize that everyone else's self energy may not exhibit how my self energy shows up. So like leaning into that, not going in just assuming that the way they're accessing their self energy is similar to mine. Yeah, because my self energy shows up and it'll disconnect if they're tapping into their self energy, and I don't have to know what it is, but I know something is there. And that's just something like just really just noticing how it shows up in my body. Like when my chest get tight around someone, that feels like self energy to me. Just like, hey, there's something there, you picking up on it. I just want you to know. So yeah, I'm still defining it, still trying to understand it like for myself. And definitely there's this because I feel so much of it is energetic, I'm very selective in how I use it. So being mindful of names that I say, being mindful of things that what the media is putting out, like, because I feel like that's energy, and the more that we put energy into those things, the more that we're allowing others to dictate how they have, like, access to that energy inside, if that makes sense. I don't know. But and this is something that's always been there, but something I'm noticing more, because then I question, like, am I just avoiding, like, knowing about what's happening, like, for instance, politics? But then there's this voice, like, you're just very selective in how you choose to use your energy, because people can feed off of it. So, to be continued.
Thank you all for leaning in. Yeah, that question. Um, so I'm curious, you all have to share around like how self energy shows up in a process over time, the healing process. As we're building relationship with our parts and learning how our parts interact with each other, all the steps in name too. Like I know we are black and unblending, and we also know that there's no shame in being blended at the same time. As blending, as there's wisdom in blending. So and yeah, what can healing look like over time, and how can self energy show up over time as we're building relationship with our parts?
I think about the first decision to leave a job, to leave a relationship, to leave a community that is unhealthy, to risk losing everything, or to give away everything. To be like, I'm done. You can have it. I think about a person who comes from a family system where maybe people didn't lean into ancestral healing methods or ancestral medicine, or people didn't go and talk to a spiritual advisor or a therapist. And we work with people all the time who may be the first in their family to go get therapy. I think I might be the first in mine, possibly, I think. And if they did, nobody talked about it, so I have no idea. That is self. There's something that says, I can't do this by myself. I got to go talk to somebody. I got to go get help from somewhere. This environment isn't working. Let me go find my people. They're out there somewhere. That is self. And Shanika, you were talking about how self looks differently on different people. And I was like, oh man, that is so true. That self is diverse. And what looks like confidence and connectedness and curiosity and courage in one person, it's going to look totally different because we are different people. And so, which is why we have to be really culturally educated, culturally informed, like tied in, not just from an intellectual, but from a relational, having relationships with people to see what does their self look like in their culture, in their body. So I feel like I'm kind of veering off of the topic, but that's what I notice in terms of like healing. It starts with that first decision, that first mindset shift.
And I'm a bit on that just because that hit something inside for me, that piece around everybody's self looks different. And I think that's why this individualized self, like we're all in our 8 C's, we can conquer racism. I don't know. Sometimes I have my feelings around that because I'm like, I think some people are in their self energy when they're destroying things. Ice look real confident. They look real courageous. They look real connected to their cause. So they might be in self energy in their systems, right? And so that there's a part that just needs to name that. So when I think about self and my black lesbian body, for me, healing has looked like, and often when I'm working with folks at intersections, I used to think that self in showed up when there was curiosity. I used to think that was the first thing, but I'm starting to realize, even like I'm listening to this, I feel like it's courage to even invite the junk in. Um, and I think about my journey. I was like, that was when self was there. Is when because I couldn't be curious until I was courageous enough to invite it in, courageous enough to even notice or listen, confident enough to know that this won't wreck me and destroy me if I even acknowledge that there's something there. And I feel like that's like a big piece. Like even when people even start their healing journey, it takes this level of like courage to even make the next step and whatever comes after that, comes after that. But I'm starting to realize like when I see how it shows up, especially in our black bodies, we have very strong dissociative parts that have gotten our lineages through. And of course there's self energy in every part. But sometimes the parts are like, no, I have to do this. Not I'm willing to and choosing to do this to protect you. It's like, no, there's nothing else that can come in. And that takes courage to like even for those parts to give space back. So I was like, I feel like that's self energy, like in these parts, like and just like I'm willing to allow you to see something's here. Um, and I feel like that's powerful because as Black people too, in our bodies to even allow us to experience the world, our humanness, takes a lot of courage. I was seeing a post the other day. So the fact that we're not all walking around losing our minds is huge. There's something to that because the way the world has treated us for centuries, there's no reason any of us should be in our right minds, our right bodies to be even have a podcast. Like, so that's what's coming up, and I'm definitely I'm gonna be sitting on that for a little bit because I realize that I don't spend enough time acknowledging that as a step as I do the connectedness, the curiosity, the calmness, like that piece is self energy.
I think too, what's coming up as you were both talking, too, it's like the decision to do nothing. Um, like the decision to rest, uh, to allow other people to have a need. It's oftentimes if like my system, like I felt like I've had to be as a Black woman, have had to be the solution. Um, to whatever was happening, either it was organizationally, like my parts, we will come up with a solution to fix an organizational problem or to a community problem or a family problem or or and it's like, no, I'm gonna just let the chaos be there. And yeah, I'm gonna rest. Um, right, like leaning into what both you and Tasha were talking about, like, hey, I'm gonna love me and not sacrifice my energy, my body, my emotional labor, my physical labor. And I'm just going to like pour that energy that I would to fix an organization or a or a family or a community. And I'm gonna pour into me. And then what naturally flows from that will be like that will be right. And that's like, oh, okay, that's how self energy, right, can show up over time. When I'm like, I'm just gonna rest. And oh, you're having an issue. I wish you well with your issue. I want you to have it resolved, and I'm going to cheer you on over here as I rest. Yeah.
That just did something for me. I felt my whole body just say I could do that. Well, thank you.
Mm.
I wish you well.
I wish you well.
You know what? That just kind of, Kayla, I'm like you, like that kind of struck something in me as well. We are used to like taking care of people. And we've all heard the term like pouring from an empty cup. We do that well. Black and brown folks, we've been forced to do that, to operate, and to still work and give and serve and help from an empty cup. And what I've learned is that when I can disconnect from that, and I'm way disconnected from that now in my life, but when I have disconnected from that need to like go 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 do, just show up for everybody, give everything. When I take space from that labor and I allow myself to be poured into, and I allow myself to be loved, and I'm around people that can love me well, I am a much better human. Then everybody else benefits. My clients benefit. When I'm teaching, the folks who are there listening or receiving benefit because I am pouring from a full cup. So they're getting the best of me, right? So it is necessary for us to figure out ways to fill our cup and to allow others to fill our cup.
I'm glad I brought my notebook today because I was not prepared to be jotting down bars, but I am. My parts are very noted, clocking all of it and breathing that in. Thank y'all.
And Linda did say that their connection is so they're going to keep their camera off. So just letting people who are watching know that they're still here with us. Janika, you flow in. Let's see her.
Yeah, so I'm really appreciating like, Kayla just naming like the courage to have, stuff come in. Because I think that's how it started to show up like in my life. And it takes me back to like, when I was a teenager and just really, really trying to connect like to like the Bible, but I just couldn't. Like it was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I connect to this? And just really once I like, moved out and like started like my own like, journey with spirituality and my beliefs, just the recognition that that was the first, like just the noticing, right? And then being able to face it and being able to hold like your truth and not, force it or try to mask. Like just I was just very aware that something about this does not sit with me, right? And then having the courage to go explore, to try things out. Like I feel like that is how healing showed up for me because there's so much fear around that. To like step outside what is supposed to be the right way, I guess. Um, and then continuing that in all aspects of my life. Like there's so much power just in my body in tapping into choice. Like getting to choose what I invite in and what I export out. Like that feels so good for my system. And um it also helps me to like be able to when it comes to healing, recognize that everyone is at different places. And that's okay. Like, because when you start tapping into like, that spirit of healing, it's like you just being present can be healing for someone. Like it can feel effortless. So yeah, just noticing that self can be both moving and also still like be healing.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying that too, when you think about moving, I think like even with age, I don't know why my body just was like, I wonder what myself is gonna look like when I'm 80 years old. You know, because we don't hear a lot of that, but there's something like molasses, you know, like when it marinates a little longer, it gets a little sweeter. And I feel like that's the beauty I've seen in like black bodies. Like, you know, everybody's self energy. I don't want to make general, you know, black is not a monolithic experience. And um there's something beautiful that happens, I think, culturally for us when we are in self energy. There's something that opens up. Um I just, yeah, what you were just saying, that Shanika around, like, just it can move with us and move across shifts and experiences.
When you were asking that question, um, a person I thought of, and she's definitely someone who I use as a guide in my practice, but Maya Angelou, like I heard her talk about like standing in your abilities because it's like this false humility thing. She's like, you can be humble, but like if you're good at something, you're good at it. Like and just like stand firm in it. Yeah, this is what I do. And we have like loving confronting conversations. Like there was this conversation she had with Tupac about like how he was cussing. She's like, "Oh, so much blue coming from your mouth." Right, but it was still like this loving, like, and I'm gonna talk to you about it, right? And it's just like that self energy at a later stage in life and how it can look. Yeah, and so no dope. It is. I get excited about us, yeah, just thinking about us in our different stages of life and how our self energy is gonna continue to show up in. Mhm.
yeah, and it just makes me wonder, like I have my parts are all like percolating up in here. Um, but it makes me wonder, like with kids, they say like old souls, are they just kids that are tapped into ancestral self energy, right?
Mhm.
Or marinating as it becomes their own. You know, just like stuff like that. It's like it's there. It's like, yeah. And that's beautiful. You think about healing that way. You're like, wow, you're actively healing throughout your lifeline, right? And then things happen that make, you know, that become restricted, but it's there. Like we are constantly passing down healing to, you know.
Mm. When you said that, what came up for me is like self can also unveil what needs to heal. Because just thinking about a kid and embodying that self energy and what can come up in a parent, like around that.
Mhm.
Like,
They get called bossy,
yeah.
mind your business.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You
Wait,
asking
Mm-hmm.
why are you smoking? I don't feel good. Shut up. Right? That kind of John.
why you
Sorry
Uh-huh.
if
asking
anyone
so
watching,
many?
if I unlocked something. That wasn't my experience, but there's something in my spirit that said name that. Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
you hit something right there, Shanika.
Mhm. Yeah, why
Yeah.
you asking so many questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Mm-hmm. Because
yeah.
when
Yeah.
someone is embodying that energy, like just being in someone's presence can be activating,
Mhm.
right? And like you I don't want to like go off on a rabbit hole, but just noticing when some people that are around me can't stand to be around, and I'm just present. But what
Yeah.
is it activating in you, like bringing up that maybe is your like your shadow work to do?
Mm, I felt that.
Mhm.
And that's a black body experience because our
Mm-hmm.
joy, our liberation. So that's the issue
Mm-hmm.
with white supremacy culture. They also focus on like taking away ours that you realize you ain't even got none. So when we do get
Mm.
ours, you can't stand it. You
Yeah.
restrict it, and then you add all the identities after that.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. Just because you got your degrees,
And you know everything.
So
and
everything.
you know everything.
Ooh, that's exciting though. I feel that vibration. Talk about how we explain it to clients. Like I could feel my bones. Like like when you drive in the hood and they got the best bass in the car. It's shaking everything. I feel that
Mm-hmm.
like in my body. Like when it comes, in, it's like oh, you
Mm-hmm.
shaking everything. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff energy gonna shake, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Ooh, okay. I knew we were gonna get excited about this topic.
Goosebumps. Get some goosebumps.
And I'm looking at time. I'm like, okay. So,
Yeah. I want to just say there's a part of me that wishes this was talked about more in IFS. Because I don't think I've ever,
Hmm.
I don't, mm-mm. Like when self-injury is spoken, it's not often in this way.
mm,
Hmm.
You know what, Kayla? It hasn't been talked about, but it's on us to talk about.
You're right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Other people may not, depending on where they're at in terms of like decolonizing, in terms of where they're at in their maturity, their understanding of who they are. They may not have and I'm speaking about the IFS community as a whole, they may not be equipped to have this conversation that we're having.
Right.
We're built for this,
mm,
right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Every space that you're in now, you get to introduce, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be profound because nobody else is talking.
Yeah.
Nobody else is really dropping deep into their spirit, into their soul to see who am I and what do I want and who is myself? What is self for me?
Hmm.
And you have to be willing to drop down to see
Hmm.
like who am I really?
Hmm.
Apart from what society and what my family and all of those expectations. That's deep work.
Mm-hmm.
We're built for this.
Hmm.
Life has created who we are. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that should be talked about, and I've just realized that so often we have to be the ones to bring these topics up.
All
Um,
right.
just don't have it, and that's not a criticism. It's just an acknowledgement of where we're at.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I love every time you say that. It's not criticism, it's this.
Hmm.
I'm definitely supposed to say, no, I'm not doing that. I just love it. Mm.
Yeah, I'm not putting anybody down. Like, I'm not talking, it doesn't come from a negative space. It really does. Thinking about self. It comes from knowing me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What I bring to the IFS community, like it's important for me to speak my perspective. Nobody else is, necessarily going to have the exact same perspective. And it doesn't make us right or wrong. It's just I'm on a different wavelength.
Right.
Hmm.
You're on a different wavelength. Shanika, you're on a different wavelength. Alicia, you're on a different wavelength. Linda is on a different wavelength.
Hmm.
Each
Mm-hmm.
of our perspectives are needed.
yeah.
And we can tell that like when we speak and people are like they're just so hungry for it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've watched y'all in trainings. Like people are like, ooh. And I'm like, ooh, I'm eating everything up that y'all are saying. Like, yeah, we're powerful people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, as much as I would love to be here with all of you, like for real, like I mean that with everything. Ain't no like this ain't no nicety. I would love to be with y'all, and I want to honor your time too. So I want to shift to our after party and see what are you taking with you? What are you taking with you as we are um, shifting this like rich space of really what it sounds like is just liberation, for us.
There's something in my spirit that's like boldness. I even felt like when I was breathing, I could feel my chin like reaching for the ceiling. It's something about just being bold. Um, I think confidence is there. I think courage is there. I think wisdom is there. But there's something around being bold enough to stand on that job. in the face of adversity and bold enough to do the healing regardless of what happens. That just resonates for me. And so that's why I feel like y'all have given me that gift to hold is being bold to rest. So, name that. And bold enough to keep talking, like you said, to tell the truth. I just keep telling the truth. Like, this is my knowing. And your knowing don't have to change my knowing. So, unless I got a blind spot. Unless I got a blind spot. That's what I would take.
Mm.
Linda shared that they're taking away the diversity of self experiences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Linda's joining us from South Africa, just so everybody knows. That's why their connection
Yeah.
was in. So appreciating them for being here and the gift and their presence.
Mm. I think what I'm taking away is yes, the diversity of self energy, and then also it can evolve depending on what stage of life that you're at. Like I feel like, the older or whatever is happening in life and like self energy can attune to that, like where you at, like in your healing journey. So it can shift because my self energy in the beginning of my healing journey looks very different today. And it's probably going to look different 5 years from now. So I think that's what I'm taking away from this part. Always come with don't box it in.
Okay.
I think what I'm taking away is the necessity to stand in my Blackness and in my queerness, in life and in work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that this conversation around how parts or self shows up in Black bodied folks, we got to just keep the conversations going around the diversity of self. And our self ain't gonna look like anybody else's self. Yeah. And it's not supposed to, no matter what books say, no matter how it's taught. So, um, yeah, that's what I'm taking away from this.
We are so powerful.
Mm-hmm. We was cooking today, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We are so
Eating
powerful.
it up.
Yes.
Thanks for the invitation, because my part was wet.
We are so powerful. There are times where I get upset around like what's happening in our world, and I just
Yeah.
they're like, oh, they're so obsessed with us, right? Uh, and
Mm-hmm.
right, yeah, we're so powerful, and I'm so I think what I'm taking away is when we finally tap into it and we see it for ourselves,
Yeah.
it's so like changing.
Mm-hmm.
So life changing. When we tap into it for ourselves.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And so I'm just so excited for our own individual journeys and the people that of course that we are connected to that benefit from our journeys and our communities and our clients that we support and help. But so so grateful for being able to tap into our own power and see it and experience it and how that ripples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How that ripples.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hunter, Tasha Hunter, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence,
That girl,
that your beauty,
Mm-hmm.
you her.
Mm-hmm.
your blackness, your queerness. Thank you so much for blessing us with all.
Uh, yeah. Oh, thank you. I've loved our time together. It feels so spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like we just had church.
And did.
hmm
Yeah, this feels good to me. I'm gonna be like existing in this energy all day. Like,
Mhm.
hmm
just love y'all so much.
Yeah. I'm glad. 'Cause when you presented at the conference, I was buzzing for about 2 days. I was like, I just love
hmm
church. It's so good. It is so real good. So glad you were able to get some of that back, and look forward to, well, having you as as you can come. But love having you. So I think that feels complete, y'all. I think that feels
hmm
complete. Yeah. Period.
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 Peace. Thank you so much for listening to the Black and Unblending podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all social media platforms. See you next time. Take care. Peace.